families, creating a lifetime of memories. Sadly, some families are denied these important moments due to the sad practice of alienation. These are families divided.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Families Divided TV. In this week's episode, Christy Lever will be speaking to parents and co-parents regarding mitigating the risk of parental alienation. It's a great presentation, so you may want to take notes. We're also going to be hearing from Dr. Mary Alvarez. She's going to be one of our presenters at our upcoming fall conference in October on alienation, the truth regarding the trauma and the abuse. This will be a virtual international conference that goes 2.5 days. It starts at 7 p.m. on Friday night and doesn't end till probably about 10 o'clock on Sunday night, straight through. Many things will be going on and much to help both the alienated family members as well as those who are working in the field of alienation as professionals. So much information. These presentations are just great. You do not want to miss this. And we've got many other things going on, even besides the presentations. So we're registering now. Many folks have registered from all over the world. I hope you'll do the same. There's info for you on familyaccess.info with any questions you may have. And there's also a short video I did here on Families Divided TV YouTube that you can look at. We're going to be back in just a moment with Dr. Mary Alvarez and also Christy Lever.
Divorce and co-parenting are a major life interruption for families, especially the kids, but also for parents and grandparents. And it's even worse in blame-filled, high-conflict cases. When parents engage in alienation by turning the kids against the other parent or grandparents, kids suffer. They're denied the opportunity to build the 4 big skills necessary for future resilience. New Ways for Families online class can help. Parents learn to use our popular BIF and EAR skills to calm the conflict and stop the hostile emails and texts. And we even have a class for kids and parents to learn together. Research shows a 75% improvement in joint parental decision-making after this course is taken, plus overall improvements for kids' well-being. Don't wait to make this affordable investment in your children's future and improve your well-being too. Start learning new ways for your family today at conflictplaybook.com.
Hi, this is Dr. Mary Alvarez. I am a psychologist in Austin, Texas, and do a lot of work in the field of parental alienation. I'm so happy to be part of the 2023 conference this coming year and would like to help you understand my topic, what I will be discussing. So my title is Parental Alienation is a Form of Child Psychological Abuse. And so no longer is this disputed in the field by the experts in parental alienation. And what I would like to illustrate in my talk is how psychological abuse meets the criteria for an adverse childhood experience. And then there's lots of research on adverse childhood experiences and what happens to a child's psychological as well as brain development. And so since parental alienation is considered psychological abuse, then we can extrapolate that the things that happen to children who experience adverse childhood experiences are happening to children who have been influenced by a parent unnecessarily and unduly against the other parent, and that relationship has been interfered and fractured. So we will talk about some of the effects that happen to children currently when one parent is trying to erase the other parent from the child's life, such as the rates of depression, the rates of anxiety, the rates of externalizing behavior, which would be things like conduct problems, oppositional defiance in the child. I'll also discuss with you the role of toxic stress and what happens neurologically to a child's brain development when they are in toxic stress as a result of parental alienation. And the research also underscores what can happen long-term to these children, again, both psychologically as well as neurologically. There are some neurological effects that appear to be permanent. And so that's very serious. And my commitment to parental alienation is to reduce those negative outcomes for children through the services that I provide and the educational services that I do. Because while you can't necessarily see what's happening at the time that the child is involved in an alienation situation, the research will illustrate what does happen and what potentially can happen long term. So I look forward to 2023 and invite you to view my conference participation piece. Thank you very much.
Hello and a warm welcome from Central Kentucky, where I live and work. My name is Christy Lever. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity today to speak to this audience. Thank you, Elaine, and Family Access and Families Divided TV. I'd like to spend some time talking to parents and helping you guys understand the importance of mitigating the risks of parental alienation. And so I'd like to begin with a premise that is so important, that guides a great deal of the work that I do, focused on promoting health and preventing harm for all children. And the premise goes like this: when feasible and when safe, it is in the best interest of children to have access to an opportunity for a healthy relationship with both of their biological parents. And we could extend that to include all sorts of extended family members as well. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone in the family is important, and connection is crucial. So I want to ask you guys a rhetorical question that you might find a surprising answer to. But who is responsible for sustaining healthy relationships for kids? And you might be surprised that I tell parents all the time that each parent is responsible for the relationship their child has with the other parent. Right? That sounds a little counterintuitive, but it's so, so true. Each parent has tremendous influence on their child's thoughts and feelings about everything, including how they view and interact with their other parent. They watch you, they look at you, they listen to you, not just the words that you say and how you say those words, but your body language and your facial features. They don't miss a thing. So it's so important to know that they are born with mirror neurons and they're developing with social referencing, and they take cues from you on everything in their environment, and that includes their relationships with other people. They look to you to see if things are safe, and they'll proceed if they find that they are safe, and they will pause if they feel a sense that they're not. So I want to encourage parents to consider that kids need to be able to hold both of their parents on pedestals, right? They need to be able to look up to both parents and value and respect and admire all of the good pieces of each of their parents, because each of their parents is half of who they are. So a lot of our talk today will be focused on how we encourage our children to do that, and how we focus on emphasizing their opportunity to stay safe and recognizing that all the members of their family are important in their life, and they can value the role that each of their parents has in their life. So how do we protect our kids? This message, this presentation is for parents who might find themselves in a period of family structure adjustment, whether a separation, a divorce, etc. How can you protect your child and mitigate the risk of potential parental alienation? I'm going to give you some tips and tools to do that now. So first of all, we need to make sure that we understand that our children are not little adults. They have undeveloped brains, and they won't have full access to the myelinated and neurally networked adult human brain until they're about 25 years old. So it's important to allow them to be kids. And how do we do that? We avoid oversharing with our children, especially when it comes to frustrations and stressors about their other parent. It's crucial to avoid saying anything negative in front of our child about their other parent. I think most parents recognize that. What I find in my work is that parents are not always aware of how important it is to remember the good times and to share those thoughts openly and regularly with your child. Each time you do that, each time you say something nice about their other parent, each time you share a memory that is a positive memory of your child with that other parent and reinforce that relationship, you gift to your child the opportunity to feel whole in that moment. So the more you can do this, the more healthy and whole your child will feel. I like to tell parents, even from a personal experience, because I co-parented my first two children with their father. It can be tough in times of stressors and in times of conflict, especially if there's a custody battle or other litigation going on. It's hard to remember what brought you close to that other person to help make that child or those children. But it never fails that it is always true, if you can think of nothing else to gift your children with, to be able to say heartfeltly, I'm so grateful for your other parent because they helped make you, right? It doesn't matter what else is going on in life and the stressors and the pressures and the frustrations. That is always true, that without that other parent, you would not have that child or those children. So please keep that in mind. It's also really important to help your child remember, to recognize and remember the healthy family structure. We want to avoid parentifying our child. We want to avoid using them as a stress relief and sharing adult information with them. We want to ensure that they recognize and respect their other parent as the authority over them, even though that is an authority in the other home. So we want to make sure that children still follow rules and we support each other in discipline and in nurturing and in structure between the homes, and make sure your child understands where they fit in that relationship. Here's another really, really crucial piece. It's so important to allow your child, to give permission to your child that they know they have the freedom to love the other parent while they're in your home. Right? They need to be able to feel whole, even though they have two separate homes with family parents who live separately. It's so important to gift them with that knowledge that you welcome their love and you recognize the value and the importance of the love for the other parent. You want to discourage your child from tattling on their other parent. And a lot of the parents that I work with talk to me so much about how their children come home from transition from the other parent's home and share all of the negative things about the other parent, about their home, about how they run their home. And it's so important to really avoid engaging with that too much. I encourage parents to say things like, thank you for sharing. Sounds like that would be a good thing for you to talk with your other parent about. And or it's a good idea for you to talk to your therapist about that if they have that therapeutic supportive relationship. By the way, I would always recommend that for children who are experiencing transitions in their family structure. It's a good protective factor for them. But always make sure you have the consent of the other parent, their knowledge and consent to do that. So make sure that your children don't feel like they are in charge and they can tell their other parent how things have to be. It is okay for different homes to be run a little bit differently. There's a great deal of range of normative and healthy parenting tools and skills out there, and we need to respect one another's decisions and choices about that. It's so important to collaborate regularly with your child's other parent, right? We want to close the loophole that your child might have to try to triangulate you against one another. I tell parents a lot that, children in situations of high conflict will say one thing to one parent and the complete opposite to the other parent, just to please you both, because they love you both and they want you both to be happy. And so if they feel like they have to tell you what you want to hear, that divides them. It pulls them apart, and it takes away from their feeling of wholeness. So take with a grain of salt anything your child shares with you about their other home. I had a wonderful elementary teacher one time when my daughter was in a combo first and second grade class. She did a remarkable job in the beginning of the year at parent orientation by encouraging us to take with a grain of salt what our kids said about school. She said, and I'll never forget it, she said, I promise not to believe everything your child tells me about you, if you promise not to believe everything your child tells you about me. And I think that is so true about co-parenting, because kids who are experiencing conflict, they often will find themselves in positions of fueling the fire. And we have to keep that in mind. We need to take them out of the middle and protect them and let them be kids. So if they share something concerning with you, thank you so much for sharing. It sounds like you need to talk to your other parent about that, and or your therapist. And then behind the scenes, you give the other parent a heads up. Hey, this is what I'm hearing. I know I don't have the whole picture. And I'm sure that, you have a clearer understanding of what the child is telling me, but this is what they might come and talk to you about. I encourage them to do that, right? So we're collaborating. We're not competing. We're not keeping a scoreboard of all the bad and wrong and awful things about the other parent, because that doesn't help our child. It hurts our child. Every time, as parents, if we take a dig at the other parent, we're taking a dig at our child. Please, please, please keep that in mind. Avoid using your child as a messenger and as a go-between. It's so important to develop the skills to collaborate together if at all possible. And again, collaborate instead of compete. That's what our kids need. That's what our society needs. That's what all of us need to live healthy, full lives. What are the benefits of this? I am going to share with you some pictures of all 4 of my children at different stages of life. Most of these pictures were taken several years ago, but they're each unique, delightful individuals, and they are each a quarter of my heart. So I'm happy to share a brief image of them with you guys. But the benefits of collaborative co-parenting, I can't say enough how much your kids need this, and they will thrive with this hard work you're going to do for them. Their self-esteem and a positive understanding of who they are, right? This half of me respects and loves this half of me, and this half of me respects and loves this half of me. That means I must be pretty cool. I can respect the whole of who I am, right? Worst case scenario I have in cases where families come in with so high conflict, the kids are hearing messages from both sides that the other parent is terrible, horrible, awful, right? And so the child interprets, I'm half of each of these people. I must be completely worthless. And so again, if we're focusing on our child, we have no other opportunity but to focus on enhancing, supporting, respecting our co-parent. Right? We need to find a way to do that, to come together and do that together. Again, that giving the child a sense of wholeness when they're living two different lives in two different homes, those moments of gifts of a sense of wholeness where they can love their mother in their father's home, they can love their father in their mother's home, or their grandparents' home, or their aunts or uncles' home, they can feel a sense of wholeness, that there's value and love and enough to go around for everyone. And doing the hard work of being the adult, the parent in this relationship, gives your child the opportunity to be free to just be a kid. They don't have to figure out who's right or pick sides. They don't have to focus on any of the grown-up stuff. They just get to go to school, hang out with friends, love both of their parents, all of their extended family, and be healthy and whole. Health and wellness is what we want for our kids. And I'm encouraging you guys to think about not just the immediate moment, but the long-term outcomes for your kids by offering them this opportunity. The alternative of which I'll share with you a little bit of data from some very informal research that was conducted here in Central Kentucky a couple of years ago. And this was a survey of adult children of divorced parents. And so the data that I will share comes from that research. It is unpublished, but it is a helpful guide and helpful tool regardless. And what that research found was that 85% of kids of divorced parents experience a sense of a loyalty bind or torn loyalties. And so they're having a sense of struggling of, who do I identify with? Do I choose my mom over my dad? Do I choose my dad over my mom, or my mom over my grandparent, or, whatever the family structure happens to be? They feel put in the middle and stuck. And that is really, really detrimental for kids. 70% of adult kids of divorced parents reported that they experienced one or both parents bad-mouthing the other. And we know right from the starting point that's the opposite of what our kids need. 42.5% of those surveyed experienced a level of alienation. And we know that parental alienation is on a spectrum, mild, moderate to severe. But 42.5%, almost half of kids in a divorced home, went through and experienced some form of this insidious form of abuse. And so we need to do a better job of preventing and providing intervention to protect those kids. 40% of adults of divorced parents reported that they only had a healthy relationship with one of their parents as an adult. Right? Years and years of having to choose, and the lack of freedom as a child can sometimes result in the lack of freedom as an adult to feel free to love both of your parents. A piece of good news from that research was that the study found that 62.5% of alienated children reconnected with their targeted parent as an adult. So it gives us a little bit of hope, but it also speaks to how the importance of understanding brain development, right? That young children are very manipulable, and you can influence them to reject half of who they are. But when they have a fully functioning, myelinated adult human brain, they're going to think about things differently. They're going to understand things differently, and they're going to be curious, and they're going to have a need to reconnect with that parent. And so let's prevent all of that and start from the basis of kids get to have everybody they need in their life, all of their family. And in the cases where that isn't an opportunity, and this is where a lot of my work comes in, I do a lot of family therapy and reconciliation, parenting coordination, and a lot of consultative services for the courts. And unfortunately, by the time families get to my door, there's often a great deal of conflict, and sometimes there's parental alienation in the mix as well. So when we need to provide intervention instead of prevention, the focus is on the targeted parent and the child and our children, and there must be contact. We can't do traditional individual therapy, hoping for an outcome of connection. It doesn't happen. We need to have that child and that parent in the same room, breathing the same air, seeing one another's eyes, and watching one another's nonverbals. We need them to be together in space to have those healing opportunities become a possibility. A lot of my focus is on providing psychoeducation about parental alienation, using the work and research of a lot of other contributors to this program. And I'm so grateful for all of those because my work stems from your research and your work. So thank you so much for your contributions. But we help children re-experience their targeted parent as they are, instead of what they have been led to believe. And that's so important because children have been known to rewrite their histories with the parent after a certain amount of lack of contact. And they hear stories about how scary and dangerous a parent might be. And it can be pretty anxiety provoking, but we help kids use tools and give them opportunities to work through, exposing them to things that create anxiety rather than avoiding the anxiety. So again, we want to, as quickly as possible, if safe and if feasible, reunite that child with their targeted parent. We help targeted parents respond therapeutically to their child, recognizing that their child is a victim just as much as they are, right? Their child is not a co-conspirator, although their behaviors manifest and make it look that way. So we have to break through that and understand they're just a child with a child's brain, and they're doing what they were born to do and what they've been trained to do. So we promote natural opportunities for shared delight. My office space here has access to playrooms and conference rooms with ping pong tables and all sorts of things. We pop popcorn. We follow the lead of the child on what they would like to do and how they want to kind of break the ice with that parent they haven't seen in a long, long time. And often, more often than not, what I find is the need for me to make sure that I'm mindful about getting out of the way and offering the parent-child an opportunity to connect naturally and reconnect that natural parent-child bond. Sometimes too much talking, too much words, too much psychoeducation just gets in the way. And oftentimes they just need time and space together. So it's really, really wonderful to get to have that opportunity to provide those healing experiences for kids. This work is certainly not for the faint of heart, but helping families heal is very, very rewarding. We also need to be mindful with the alienated and targeted parent to avoid unintentional retaliatory alienation. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does. And we have to be mindful of the need for the parent sometimes to receive their own therapeutic support to deal with their own trauma and move forward there. At the same time, tangentially, with another provider or the same provider, we provide treatment for the alienating parent, psychoeducation about PA. We also need to have empathy for that alienating parent. Boy, that can be hard sometimes when you see what their behaviors are doing to this child. But we need to step back and understand too that this is often a multi-generational pattern. And oftentimes these alienating parents have been victims as children themselves of alienation and the loss of an important parent or family member in their life. We have to encourage and allow alienating parents to take accountability for their contribution to their children's distress. And that's a crucial piece, especially if there has been a protective removal. That's a crucial piece to do prior to reintroducing that parent back into the life of the child. We hope that parents will develop some insight about where these behaviors came from. And when it is safe, again, when it's feasible and when safe, we want kids to have opportunities for healthy relationships with both parents. When it is healthy and safe, we'll introduce slowly some supervised contact back with that prior alienating parent with that child. And we'll give parents an opportunity to practice some healthy co-parenting and with or without parenting coordination services. So a little timeline of what that might look like from entering my door and leaving my door. And it could be very, very short if we are able to intervene early on, or it can be a matter of, unfortunately, of years of treatment for a family to come in and to have that full opportunity for healing. So if we see children come in who are resisting or refusing or rejecting a parent, it's important first we want to differentiate between alienation and estrangement. And if we have a normative parent with a prior positive relationship and an absence of substantiated maltreatment, and we have alienating behaviors that we can recognize, and we have behavioral manifestation on the part of the child, all things point to the presence of alienation. We treat the child for that. We treat the targeted parent together with the child and the alienating parent separately. If we can correct course without a protective removal, that's fantastic. I love it when that happens. When parents have an awareness of, oh my goodness, I had no idea that's what I was doing to my child and how detrimental that is to my child. And of course, I want my child to be healthy and whole. I'm going to correct course. I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to make a concerted effort to respect the child's love for the other parent in my home. I'm going to keep that parent on a pedestal, right? If that happens, wonderful. That's a short progress treatment. If there's resistance for one reason or another and obstacles that get in the way, then oftentimes a protective removal can become necessary, at least 90 days, and then following the lead of how the family is progressing through that process. And through a removal, oftentimes we'll refer the alienating parent for psych evaluations or in-depth treatment so that they can get to a place where they can take accountability for their abusive behaviors. When able and when safe, we return to joint custody and equal time share because, again, we know kids need access to opportunities for healthy relationships with both. 2 healthy parents equals healthy kids. So how do you make sure that you can develop an environment that is healthy for your children? First things first, I'm going to encourage you guys to take good care of you. Sometimes the very best thing we can do for our kids is to take some time, energy, and resources to focus on our needs. Heal your trauma, take time for you, focus on those things that you can do. Gift your child with good pieces of their other parent, and do the next kind thing. Even if the other parent isn't pulling their weight, isn't doing those things that I'm encouraging you guys to do here, gift your child with pieces of that parent that they can be proud of, right? Always focus from the child's perspective, always focus on the good pieces of that parent. You're doing your part of keeping the other parent on the pedestal. Your child will know that. They may not recognize it right away, but when they're older, I promise they grow up and they recognize it. They will know what parent helped them be whole and what parent tried to cut them in half. So teach your children that kindness conquers all. And above all things, ensure that your children have access to observe other healthy relationships in their life. Right? They get to experience what healthy relationships with healthy boundaries, what those look and feel like. And, lean on your village when you need to, and be there for your village when they need you. So I'd like to just wrap up by sharing with you guys a belief that I've come to embrace fully and share with a lot of parents is that love is infinite. The love of a child, they can love innumerable people. Love is not pie, and you're not competing for the biggest piece of love from your child. There's always enough to go around, and your child needs both halves of themselves, to work well together to feel healthy and whole. They need two parents who are themselves healthy and whole. Thank you guys so much for your attention. And I wish you and your families health and wholeness.
Sadly, too many know the pain and trauma associated with parental and grandparent alienation. Family Access, Fighting for Children's Rights, will present an important international virtual conference on October the 13th through the 15th, 2023. The conference, entitled Alienation, The Truth Regarding the Trauma and Abuse, will feature world-renowned experts in the field of alienation. You'll join the conference event coordinator, Elaine Cobb, and moderator, Megan Hunter, as they introduce you to keynote speaker, Dr. Edward Kruk. Plus, you'll hear important presentations from Dr. Joshua Coleman, Lisa Rothfuss, Dr. Mary Alvarez, Chris Smith, Bill Eddy, Dr. Noel Hunter, Dr. Sue Kornbluth, Dr. William Burnett, Megan Hunter, and Jordan Traeger. Join the many attendees already securing their spot for the conference entitled Alienation, The Truth Regarding the Trauma and Abuse. For information, visit familyaccess.info for all the details. This special conference is being hosted by Family Access, Fighting for Children's Rights, Steel Partners Foundation, and PASCA, Parental Alienation is Child Abuse.
Next week on Families Divided TV, Dr. Sue Kornbluth speaks to grandparents about reconnecting with their grandchildren. It is not what you think.